If you read enough comics and you see different teams or organizations, you might notice somebody in the corner that's not the most popular character, but you seem to see her over and over again through different comics. You're probably wondering, who the heck is she? A character with very limited comic appearances, less than 200, but you would be surprised on how many different teams you'll see her on. The White Tiger. Let's get into it. In the case of the White Tiger I'm going over today, Ava, there was an original White Tiger. You guys know about Hector, right? You guys know he was the original to run across these amulets that was once wielded by these fighters. They end up throwing these things away, and that's how he ended up getting them, therefore transforming him into White Tiger by wearing all three. There's a female White Tiger, and the original White Tiger was her brother. She's basically continuing his legacy. This kind of stuff is reiterated here when it comes to these amulets. See, she's the best person to wear these amulets other than her brother, because as a child, she idolized her oldest brother. So just like her brother, she was amplified by this tiger god, by these mystical amulets. See, she's one of those type of characters that she's an animal themed type character. She kind of reminds me of Black Panther in certain ways, because in a weird way, she's kind of like an avatar for the tiger god. The power of the amulet is literally coming from this tiger god. So in a way, you could say her power can vary, which I'm going to talk about in this video, via temporary power. She can be amped up way more than her normal means because the tiger god can choose to give her more power if he wanted. Throughout this video, there's going to be some parts where you can make an argument her power increases or decreases, because there's even moments where she will be possessed by the tiger god himself, which you could argue could affect their overall power levels more than normal. Like, think of it like this. You know how Black Panther is powered by the panther goddess Bast, avatar of Bast. When it comes to White Tiger, you could basically say this is a similar concept, just via this amulet. We've seen her communicate time to time with the tiger god and everything through the cloud. I like visual imagery like this because this literally gives you an implication of what I'm talking about. So don't be surprised in this video if I bring up other wielders of these amulets to kind of get an understanding of her power. It kind of adds up. In a weird way, whatever the past amulet users can do, she technically should be able to do, because they all technically have the same power source. Like, all the people that wield these things are getting amplified by the same power source. So it kind of makes sense. But if anything, you could argue she's the best, because there's times in comics, newer comics, where the tiger god would amplify her even more. Like when it comes to her versatile abilities, for example, let me talk about it real quick. The White Tiger's amulets grant her enhanced strength, speed, stamina, coordination, agility, durability, endurance, and mastery of martial arts skills. Like, yeah, it literally gives her martial arts skills. But the stuff I just mentioned like 2 seconds ago about her having extra stuff, because it's mentioned under certain extreme conditions, she can project the amulet's energies as concussive force, like aka energy projection. Like energy projection on occasions like this. And there's certain implications like this where you see like a green tiger avatar around her. If you miraculously separate her from the amulet, she can sense their proximity. She cannot be separated too long, because she'll have similar problems to what the original White Tiger would have, like being sick if you're away from it too long. No, like seriously, the old White Tiger would actually get sick if he tries to take it off. So it's kind of similar concept to this when it comes to the female Ava White Tiger. And just like prior users, like Hector, these amulets do give them some type of healing factor. I wouldn't necessarily say like Wolverine or nothing, but it definitely gives them better healing than normal. Literally every occasion of them talking about their abilities, they always bring up healing, along with all the other stuff too. She also has the ability to camouflage against various surfaces, and the power and ability to transform into a costume form and back again. Like she can summon her costume like Hector and stuff. You know that. I mean, there's even stuff we see her do that's not necessarily on this page when it comes to her powers and abilities. Like narrated here, for example, having all the powers of a prehistoric tiger god. She's able to do stuff that the tiger god is known to be able to do, like induce fear. The tiger god is known for being the first thing that humans ever feared, so she's able to invoke fear in this particular situation, making them instantly surrender. It's talked about here how the amulet sustains her. She doesn't need to eat or sleep. She can track things because she has great smell. The amulet will thrive, letting them know of incoming danger. Her tiger god has literal chi that she can lend. Like in this particular situation, she lended her aid to a power man to amp this being up. She can buff your teammates, you could say. If you're a chi manipulator, you could argue. So let's just say, if you put her on a team with Iron Fist, she would just be able to buff him. Magnify, amplify him, you know. But anyway, when it comes to White Tiger, let's talk about how strong she is. First of all, she's stronger than you would think, even without being powered up by this. Like, you know how comics are, like there's occasions where they don't have powers. I've already said this a lot of times on my channel, a million times on my channel. You don't need superpowers to be able to do superhuman stuff. Like there's occasions where she's not powered up and there's implications she can still do superhuman stuff. Like the weight of her kicks being able to do this. Like people take these kind of feats for granted, but this is way more impressive than you think if we're talking about she's literally depowered and she's still able to do stuff like this. So there's already implications she can still hit with crazy blunt force even without being powered up by the tiger god in any way, be able to punch through bricks or brick walls and such. I mean, look at her kicking this hard. I mean, how else do you perceive this? I mean, she's not powered up here, and look how hard she hit this gun. Narrated white tigers, fully human, they're martial artists still, and they're still putting in work. Like, it shows that she's a great fighter even without it. I mean, if we're talking about skills and strength, she's literally boxing out with a being that's technically powered up when she's not even powered up. And you see her boxing out with powered up people. This kind of lets you know how strong martial arts fighters or humans can be without no freaking power. Kind of still getting the advantage. Even on this particular situation where her name is Ava, she's a martial artist with no extra powers at all. Like, that lets you know how strong she is without the power. You can look at it like this is a strength and skill feat, like her being depowered with another white tiger was working together and fight a whole bunch of hand beings together. Now, when we talk about when she is amped by the amulet, everything I just said is magnified even more. Anything I've already said she can do better when amplified by this amulet, aka the Tiger God. First off, other users of the amulet are basically talked about as being the Puerto Rican Captain America, another white tiger amulet user. She technically should by default be a super soldier tier, just off rip, just lowballing her, being amplified based on the past white tiger stuff or lore. Another example of why her strength is crazy is other white tiger users. This is not her, for example, but somebody else that's powered up. They state she can lift at least 1 ton at the very least, so more than normal humans for sure. But when we talk about actually Ava, white tiger, it's talked about how she's class 10. You know how they say 10 tonner class and they can lift 10 tons. Like, bare minimally, this should prove her off default that she can lift 10 tons. Maybe the tiger god decided to give her more power or something, because there's some other scans of other people using these amulets where they say they're not necessarily class 10, but they say she is. So maybe the tiger god's giving her more power or something, right? Maybe she got favor, right? See, here's the interesting thing about Marvel in their ton system, their class system. I always bring this up, but you know how they always say Spider-Man is a quote unquote class 10. He can lift 10 tons. I've never been a big fan of the word ton. Honestly, I think that word ton is an oversimplification, but this can kind of give you an idea of what White Tiger's power level could be. If Spider-Man's quote unquote 10 tonner, but we've seen Spider-Man do stuff way greater, like lifting 60 plus ton tanks and support a part of a building, which would still be thousands of tons. Even if he supported 1% of this building, it would still be thousands of tons. Like, a class 10 can do stuff like this. A 10 tonner in Marvel can do stuff like this. So if a 10 tonner like Spider-Man can do stuff like this, what do you think a class 10 or a 10 tonner like Ava White Tiger can do? She more than likely can do more than just 10 tons, just like Spider-Man, if she's in the same class. So bare minimally, you could say she can lift 10 tons just like Spider-Man as a low ball. But then if you want to take it seriously about, you know, how 10 tonners can lift way more, you could say if you were to put her in those same situations like Spider-Man, a good argument could be made that she can lift 60 plus tons like Spider-Man as well, or even thousands of tons if we're to take the fact they want her to be in that Spider-Man ranges seriously when it comes to muscle, you know, via her amulet, amp her up. I mean, when they're talking about her tier, like, she's below like Luke Cage and Blue Marvel tiers, but they say she's in that level with Power Man. They say she's a gamma level threat like Power Man. She's in the same tier of strength of somebody that has superhuman strength, class 25, lifting 25 ton tier strength, they say, apparently. So that lets you know her hierarchy of power. Being this freaking strong, you see her do this too. So it adds up kind of with the lore. In Marvel Comics, it's talked about how when the characters have super strength, lifting strength, that means they can punch hard when they compress a certain amount of weight. Their lifting strength does help their punching power. So it doesn't take rocket science to know that when you have this kind of strength Ava has, she can hit hard because of this. I mean, you can even say that the weight of her punches or strikes would feel like a whole tank, a military tank falling on your face or some graph. Especially when you see her do stuff like this and like this when she doesn't have no freaking powers at the time. So what do you think she can do when she's amplified by an actual amulet tiger god? Like, look what she does to She-Hulk and slings her through the freaking wall. Like, yeah, she's powered up. You can argue in this particular scan, she's got more power than usual. Even the usual 10 tonner class, you could argue, because in these scans, you notice in particular, her eyes are glowing green. It's kind of implied via the storyline. And she asked the tiger, give me everything you got in this particular situation. Now, did she actually get the full power of the tiger god? Maybe not the full power to the point where she's a cosmic being full power, but she might be, you could argue, more powered up than normal. You could argue higher than her brother ever was at this particular moment. And I guess it's expected on why she could do Falcon like this. Or kick and launch beings this far Like, we literally see her box it out with beings that are easily super soldier tier without even counting his Iron Fist stuff. When we see her actually, like, go God mode on him, kind of messed up Iron Fist. You can look at it like a skill and power feat and combat speed feat, if you want to be honest. Like, you can see occasions like this to get an understanding of how hard she can hit based on, like, yeah, look how she just melts through these beings' armors with her strike. They're basically saying she's in the same strength tier or somewhere in the same ballpark with beings like Power Man that can lift stuff like this. And she's being compared to beings that can hit so hard they can do stuff like this to freaking trucks. And this is the hierarchy of power she's apparently in, next to this guy, Power Man. And then you got occasions like this that kind of add up with it more. The further add on home to the fact that she's a good chance that she's at least Spider-Man tier, just lowballing her, she has to be, because when you look at the past White Tigers, Hector, White Tiger, you see that even him was able to take on a Spider-Man villain like Dr. Octopus to the point where even Spider-Man said, well done. Yeah, White Tiger in the past could do this. Not to mention we've seen Hector White Tiger literally box it up with Spider-Man in the past. I'm talking about to the point where even Spider-Man was saying, despite his spider strength and agility, Tiger's almost as fast as him. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, like when it comes to the White Tiger tiers, being able to chop through Spider-Man's web. Spider-Man said it can hold Doc Ock and Rhino, but he just chopped through it. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say White Tigers can box it out with Spider-Man panel for panel. Like, look at this. What do you think Ava can do? Ava and Hector are literally powered up by the same power source, the Tiger God, but they eventually got cool. But it lets you know what it's like when you see Spider-Man tiers and White Tiger tiers fight. Decently strong super soldier tier level beings like Daredevil actually hurt their hand punching Luke Cage. Same with beings like Deadpool. Luke Cage's durability is too much for him to even phase him. There's even moments where Black Panther says even my strongest blows will not phase him. So when you see White Tiger go against Luke Cage, being amplified more than normal, I would say you see her do this to Luke Cage's skin, hurting Luke Cage when super soldier tiers usually can. Even he's shocked you actually cut me. When assault rifles usually can't pierce his skin. That's scary that she can hit this hard, like with them claws too. I mean, you even got occasions like this where she can cut as Guardians like Enchantress. She, along with Squirrel Girl, was able to take on stuff that's not necessarily as strong as Hulk, but they're gamma things. Planetary defense system type stuff. White Tiger and Squirrel Girl had to hit these things apart on their own. I mean, what do you expect from a God-powered martial artist? She can just casually rip off arms and stuff. In this particular occasion, one of the rare occasions where the Tiger God actually takes over her, like you see the glow to where she still looks like Ava, but she talks like she's the actual Tiger God. So it lets you know like the Tiger God is talking through her or using her body as an avatar to fight through her. Takes on this reptile being and made them turn back to their normal form. The Tiger God even talks about, I am older than the immortal cities. I am eternal. You should already know this, but yeah, she can take what she can dish, like being hit by Iron Man blast, getting blasted by powerhouses like Spectrum here. She did get knocked out though. I mean, she got hit this hard. Her fighting speed is pretty good too. I mean, you see her own feats visually of her combat speed. For example, dodging Luke Cage here. But to give you a true understanding of how fast she is to look at the previous White Tiger, Hector, on how he can easily dodge bullets consistently. This kind of stuff should apply for her. He's consistently stated to be able to move like lightning. Even Spider-Man said the same thing, stating he can move like lightning. So she's powered up by the same stuff this guy's powered up by, so she should also be able to move like lightning like Hector when he was powered up, right? It's talked about how he can do stuff in the blink of an eye. So Ava White Tiger should be able to do stuff in the blink of an eye, dodge bullets like this, you know, same concept of stuff. Like Spider-Man's literally competing with beings like Lightmaster who are light speed type of people. This is the same comic that White Tiger was in, and Spider-Man, he himself complimented White Tiger's speed, saying he has to rely on his spider sense to keep up with White Tiger's speed. Spider-Man even said, despite his spider strength and agility, the Tiger's almost as fast as him. This should apply for Ava. The same way all this stuff applies for Hector. So just like Spider-Man tiers, she or he, it don't matter which White Tiger, they should be able to react to dang near close to light speed laser type stuff. Standard Spider-Man tier type stuff. This kind of stuff honestly shouldn't be breaking news. If you made it this far in the video, you probably know she hits like a literal freight train, but you can make an argument. I don't even know if you can call this a temporary power. She could technically get more power from the Tiger God if the right situation arises, or if the Tiger God decided to, because believe it or not, there's like little small glimpses of this kind of stuff happening when she had to take on like Shumagraph's astral state. In theory, she should technically be able to merge with the Tiger God if the certain conditions were met, because guys, I don't think you guys realize how overpowered the actual full power of this Tiger God. It's a higher dimensional cosmic type being. Like a good example is where another character used this power. This wasn't Ava, for example. This was Black Panther, for example, but this can kind of give you an idea of the real power of the Tiger God if the situations would arise the right way. The full power of the Tiger God can actually reach higher dimensions, become bigger than infinite. The first thing humanity feared, this is when T'Challa was amped up like this. This is the being that Ava's being amped up throughout this whole video. This is the true power of it. Being able to damage higher dimensional living tribunal tier being. The Tiger God can ascend to higher planes. Combat is a metaphor. This is the being that she's amped up by. Like, makes you wonder why Ava isn't higher dimensional all the time, right? She's getting her power from the same being. Celestial tier beings. The reason why Ava isn't walking around at cosmic beings levels all the time is because the Tiger God does not grant the full power to those who submits to him, but those who conquer it, like have like a little astral battle or whatever, like Black Panther did in this situation. But while it is true, Ava isn't necessarily walking around at living tribunal levels of power.
I would say it's definitely in the realm of possibility if the comic writers wanted to go that route one day.
But there has been some small glimpses of her getting higher tier levels of power, surpassing the current tier that I've currently been talking about throughout this video. One example of that in this same video is that how she was able to harm enchanters. That's like a small example of her being able to reach higher levels of power. Because there was like this facility that she was locked up in that was meant to hold Thanos level threats, not sick teammates, right? Despite all of that, she's still able to break out. Like, that's why I mean there's certain glimpses or examples that could possibly imply she's reaching the powerhouse ranges, depending on what the Tiger God wants to do, possessing her in a certain way, giving her a certain amount of power. You see what I mean? You see how it gives them flexibility or freedom? Busted Enchantress Crimson bands. So honestly, depending on what the writers want to do, they could easily write a story. If they wanted to show her be a planet shatterer, they really could, based on what this Tiger God can do. Because being a higher dimensional being, planet shattering is literally a joke to these kind of beings. You still not convinced of the Tiger God's power? Wait up, hold on. You guys know how the Phoenix is a higher dimensional cosmic type being.
Apparently, the Tiger God is an opposition force comparable to the Phoenix when it comes to balancing the scales or the tables.
Things just like the Phoenix. There was this occasion with Tigra. You see, that's why she was an avatar for that force. Yeah, not Ava, but yeah, Tiger God, same being though. The Phoenix is fire, but there's a force beyond the fire. Here in the darkness, beyond the first flames reach, the Tiger God. And it's a being that can kind of box it out with the Phoenix. That's why I say if they really wanted to, when it comes to Ava, if they wanted to write a story for her being a planet buster or a cosmic being, they could easily do it. Because sure, this occasion was not Ava, but this could definitely happen to Ava if Tiger can get powered up like this. You see what I mean? But it's just Ava and the Tiger God has like a rocky relationship. They be arguing with each other. The Tiger doesn't appreciate that she be calling him a burden and stuff. So they got like a rocky relationship, but they really could amp her up if they wanted to. This is a realm exclusive for cosmic type beings. The Superflow, this is the highest realm, highest plane of reality. And this is what the Tiger God can exist in and actually give beings this high up the business. You see what I mean? Like, basically, without trying to get too confusing, if the writers really wanted to, if they wanted to give her the full power of the Tiger God all the way without no type of limitations, this being would be capable of destroying multiverses, being the opposite side or end of the Phoenix and such. The Phoenix is ridiculously overpowered, blah, blah, freaking blah. But will we ever see this happen? Maybe not. She doesn't get the most appearances. Tiger God himself doesn't get that most appearances. He's like an event level character that pops up every now and then. But all of this madness could be just me. Did you know White Tiger was this strong? What did you learn new? Is she impressive? Do you think they should make her base level, power level, bare minimally Hulkish Thorish level as a base? Instead of her being a Spider-Man tier being most of the time, being class 10 or whatever. She's harming beings higher, and there's glimpses of her being higher than that when she's able to stab into beings like Luke Cage, damage Asgardian tiers, breaking out of facilities that's meant to hold Thanos level beings. There's already implications that she can kind of jump tiers depending on the circumstances. You see what I mean? Especially with possession. But you got to respect any of the White Tigers, and make sure you like, comment, share, and thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect Ava. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.